Liam once again left me standing in the pouring rain because of another girl. He thought I'd keep chasing him shamelessly like before, but he didn't know that this time, I had finally decided to let him go. I deleted all his contact information and tried my best to avoid him. Yet, it seemed like my retreat was something he wasn't used to. At the school anniversary event, he deliberately invited the girl who used to bully me to dance with him. Then, he started dating my roommate and stayed out with her until late at night. Finally, he showed up at my dorm with his arm around another girl, blocking my way. Elena, still causing trouble? If you keep this up, I'll really find a new girlfriend. I looked at him and smiled faintly. Your new girlfriend is quite pretty. I wish you the best, truly. The car screeched to a stop in the rain. Liam yanked the door open and dragged me out from the back seat. I lost my balance and fell onto the muddy ground in a mess. Elena, girls as shameless as you are truly rare, he looked down at me with a mocking smirk. See her in the passenger seat? That's my new girlfriend. I slowly sat up, wiping the mud and rainwater off my face. The rain poured harder, soaking my hair until it stuck to my cheeks. The mud washed away, revealing a pale, small face underneath. Liam's eyes flickered slightly, and he frowned. Go home by yourself. Stop following me. With that, he turned to get back into the car. Liam, I reached out with my muddy hand and lightly tugged on the hem of his jacket. So, we're officially over now, right? As soon as I said that, laughter erupted from the car. His new girlfriend's voice was sugary sweet. Your ex-girlfriend is so clingy. Liam chuckled impatiently, pulling his jacket free. Elena, enough. Okay, I admit I used to like you, but now I'm over it, got it? I nodded, my drenched clothes clinging uncomfortably to my skin, icy and suffocating. Then stop clinging to me. I only kissed you and hugged you, never slept with you, so I don't owe you anything. Understand? I nodded again. Yeah, I understand. He said no more, gave me one last look, and then got into the car. That night, I came down with a fever. I stayed in bed for 2 days before returning to class. I deleted all of Liam's contact information. I had to pass his department on my way to class, but now, instead of hoping to run into him, I actively avoided him whenever I saw his group. Strangely enough, though, I kept running into him over the next few days, and every time, I avoided him. Until the school's anniversary gala. When Liam saw me with my roommate, he walked straight toward us. Elena, is Liam going to invite you for the first dance? My roommate asked softly. He asked you last year. But Liam didn't ask me. He didn't even acknowledge me. Instead, he walked past me and invited another girl, a girl who used to bully me and had once pursued him. When Liam wrapped his arm around her waist and led her onto the dance floor, my fingers went ice cold. My roommate, Bella, cautiously asked, Elena, are you okay? I shook my head. I'm fine. You guys have fun. I think I'll head back. Who Liam liked or pursued wasn't something I had the right to interfere with, but he knew how horribly that girl had treated me. He had once felt sorry for me and even stood up for me because of her bullying. Now, though, it seemed like he had forgotten everything. I didn't want to cry, but as soon as I stepped out of the ballroom, tears rolled down my face. A week later, Liam started dating Bella. Every day, he showered her with flowers and gifts. During class, he'd sit right beside her. After class, he kissed her in front of everyone. Bella started coming back to the dorm later and later. One day after class, Liam came to pick Bella up. As he passed my desk, he knocked over my bag. An acrylic keychain, a little gift he had once given me, fell to the floor. It was so old I had forgotten to take it off. The keychain was broken too. Liam raised an eyebrow as he glanced at it, then at me, still holding on to it. So sentimental. I expressionlessly crouched down, picked up the broken keychain, and tossed it into the trash. As I walked away, the classroom fell silent. I had just stepped outside when I heard a loud crash, like a desk being overturned, followed by Bella's startled scream. The next morning, I saw Liam downstairs with a new girl by his side. She was unfamiliar but stunning. Elena," Liam called out to me. I didn't want to acknowledge him, but he stepped in front of me, blocking my path. "Still causing trouble? Keep this up, and I'll really change girlfriends." I wanted to laugh, but it felt like something was caught in my throat, making it impossible. This was the same Liam who once cornered me in his family's garden late at night, kissing me passionately. The same Liam who had comforted me when I cried in fear, swearing he'd only ever love Elena. Now, he was utterly detestable. I stayed silent, and Liam seemed flustered. "As long as you stop causing trouble, I'll let bygones be bygones. Deleting my contact, avoiding me at school, I won't hold those things against you." I suddenly looked up at him and smiled faintly. "Your new girlfriend is quite pretty. I wish you happiness, sincerely, Elena." I didn't turn back or stop walking. Liam, so proud, had already lowered himself by approaching me today. We were never equals to begin with. I should never have been greedy. He was the young master of a wealthy family, and I was merely an orphan they had taken in out of kindness. My father had been one of their chauffeurs for years. My food, clothes, and shelter had depended on his family's goodwill. I had always remembered their kindness and my own place. But who can control a young heart stirred by love? This greed was the price I had to pay. The only comfort I had was that his family didn't know about us, and I would bury this short-lived relationship deep inside me. That night, I drank heavily and missed the dorm curfew. I had no choice but to head back to the Chin residence. Liam's parents were away on vacation, and his grandfather was recuperating at a mountain villa. With no elders around, I wasn't too worried. But as soon as I stumbled into the house, tipsy, and changed my shoes in the dark, I bumped into someone in the dining room. Startled, I almost screamed. "Elena?" Mason's voice rang out just as the lights came on. Seeing the man before me, my heart nearly stopped. It was Liam's young uncle, Mason. It took me a moment to stammer out a greeting. "Mason." Mason frowned slightly. "You've been drinking?" "Just a little." It was a classmate gathering. I was so flustered that I didn't dare look at him. Yet, I was so drunk I could barely stand. Mason glanced at me. "Go sit over there." I quickly obeyed and sat down on the edge of the sofa. "I'll have someone from the kitchen make you a sobering soup." "Drink it later," he said as he reached for his phone to call someone. Panicking, I stood up hurriedly, grabbing his sleeve in a fluster. "No need, really. It's too much trouble. I'll just sleep it off." After all, I wasn't a part of their family. Even though the elders were kind and affectionate toward me, I always remembered my place and never crossed the line. Mason pulled his arm back coldly. Disoriented and weak, I lost my balance and collapsed to the floor when he yanked his arm away. Mason was tall, and as I fell to my knees, my forehead struck his belt buckle directly. The sharp edge cut into my skin, leaving a bloody scratch that quickly oozed droplets of blood. Clutching my wound, I teared up from the pain. "Mason." Mason immediately removed my hand, cupped my face, and bent down to inspect the injury. Just then, the sound of staggering footsteps echoed from the entrance. This was followed by Liam's drunken voice calling out, "Elena? Elena?" Mason's expression shifted slightly as he looked at me. My heart pounded wildly, terrified he might suspect something. In desperation, I wrapped my arms around Mason's waist and buried my face in his chest to hide. Liam's voice grew closer, and as he stepped through the doorway, he saw Mason bending over, holding a girl in his arms. The girl was kneeling in front of Mason, her arms wrapped around his waist. The intimate and suggestive posture sobered Liam up instantly. He spun around, intending to leave, but his drunken stumble caused him to knock over a decorative piece on the cabinet, creating a loud crash. Liam's breathing hitched. In the entire family, the person he feared most was his uncle, Mason, who was only a few years older than him. And now, catching Mason in such an intimate moment with his girlfriend, Liam wished he could disappear on the spot. "Mason, I'm sorry," Liam stammered. "Get out," Mason said, his tone calm and steady as always, yet it made Liam's heart pound wildly. He dared not linger and fled as quickly as he could. the door slammed shut behind him. Mason's face turned cold as he pushed me aside. I quickly put some distance between us, not daring to look up. The pain from the wound on my forehead burned like fire, but I didn't dare touch it. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to," I stammered, unable to admit that I'd acted out of fear of Liam discovering us. Mason looked at me, sitting on the floor, dazed and pale, with the blood on my forehead drying and the edges of the wound red and swollen. His expression softened slightly. "Come with me. Let's treat your wound," he said, turning toward the stairs. I didn't dare delay and scrambled to get up, though my legs were so weak I could barely stand. Leaning against the sofa for support, I steadied myself. Mason walked a few steps, then turned to look back when he noticed I wasn't following. "Elena," he called, his voice calm but firm. Tears welled up in my eyes. "I can take care of it myself in my room." "There's no need to trouble you," I whispered, my voice trembling. He was silent for a few seconds. "As you wish," he replied before turning and heading upstairs. I watched his retreating figure, my emotions in turmoil. It was too late to say anything now. All I could hope for was that Mason hadn't noticed anything suspicious earlier. I stumbled back to my room in a daze. A short while later, there was a knock on the door. Opening it, I found a servant holding a bag. "Miss Elena, Mr. Mason asked me to bring you these ointments." I took the bag, staring blankly at the contents inside. "Please thank him for me," I said softly. "Of course. Rest well," the servant replied before leaving. As I closed the door, my chest felt inexplicably heavy. The next day at school, Liam cornered me as soon as I arrived. Still hungover and weighed down by everything that had happened, I hadn't slept all night and was in no mood to deal with him. I ignored him and turned to leave. "Elena," he called out, not chasing after me, but his next words froze me in my tracks. "I'm planning to tell my parents about us." My mind went blank. "Are you crazy?" Anger and fear made me tremble, my hands and feet cold. Liam stepped closer, frowning as he noticed the injury on my forehead. "What happened to you?" "It's none of your business. Answer me. Why would you tell your parents?" "Who said we're over?" Liam sneered. "Couples break up and get back together all the time. I'm here to patch things up with you. We're the same as before." "You're still my girlfriend." Liam smirked, his tone both mocking and malicious. "If you don't get back together with me, I'll tell my parents that you seduced me. That night, you took off your clothes and climbed into my bed on purpose. You're the reason I lost control. Do you think they'll believe you're innocent after hearing that?" "You're despicable, Liam," I cried, furious. I raised my hand and slapped him hard across the face. The sound echoed, leaving red marks on his cheek. "I admit I went too far before." "I'm sorry," Liam said, touching his face and suppressing his anger. "This slap settles the score, okay? Let's move on." He leaned in, trying to embrace me as he always had. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. You know how much I like you." As he lowered his head to kiss me, I slapped him again, even harder than before. "Liam, I'd rather die than get back together with you. Say whatever you want. I've done nothing wrong and have nothing to hide. Elena, are you sure you want to keep this up?" Liam's tone grew colder, his face darkening. From birth, he'd been the untouchable young master. No one had ever laid a hand on him, yet I'd slapped him twice. But I didn't care anymore. I was just an orphan with nothing to lose. "The night you pushed me out of the car was the night we ended things," I said, wiping my tears away. "And I stopped loving you then too. If you want revenge, go ahead. The life I have now is thanks to your parents' kindness. Even if you take it all away, I won't complain." "Don't push me, Elena," he warned, his voice low and threatening. "You know I've never been denied anything I wanted." "And I'm still a person, Liam," I replied, my voice steady despite the tears in my eyes. "Even at my lowest, I won't let you trample on me again." I knew Liam wouldn't let this go, but I never expected him to do something so unforgivable. When I received a call from Liam's mom, I had just stepped out of the library. It was noon, and the sunlight was making people drowsy, but I felt like I had plunged into an icy abyss. Elena, the driver is waiting outside the school gate. Come back home. Her voice was curt and distant, completely unlike her usual self. Is something wrong? I asked hesitantly. You'll know when you get here, she said, her tone cold. Anxiety gripped me as I left the school grounds. My mind raced, unsettled by Liam's recent words. My heart sank deeper and deeper, weighed down by his remarks. When Liam and I first started secretly dating, it was sweet at the beginning. It was my first experience of love, while Liam was far more experienced. Whatever he asked of me, I would shyly but obediently comply. If he told his parents that I was the one who seduced him, I couldn't even fathom how I would face his kind and understanding parents, nor could I imagine continuing to live there. As I feared, the moment I stepped into the Chin family's living room, Liam's mom threw a stack of photos onto the table in front of me. The photos showed me with wet hair, wearing a white man's shirt, smiling shyly yet alluringly at the camera. I remembered that day vividly. Liam and I had gone on a date and got caught in the rain on our way back. Both of us were soaked, and Liam whimsically handed me one of his shirts after my shower, asking me to wear it. I had agreed without protest, doing as he suggested. He seemed to like how I looked, complimenting me repeatedly. That night, he kissed me endlessly, almost losing control. Later, he took several photos of me with his phone. These are for my eyes only, he had said, creating a private album for them. Elena, you've really disappointed me, Liam's mom said, her face dark with anger. I've always treated you like my own daughter all these years. I've been nothing but good to you. How could you send these kinds of photos to Liam? Staring at the photos, I was at a loss for words. I had willingly worn the shirt, agreed to the pictures, and kept my relationship with Liam a secret from his family. Liam's mom was convinced I had seduced him. What could I say to explain myself? They had raised me for years, providing me with a life of privilege, treating me like a daughter. I owed them too much to argue or risk bringing them shame. Auntie, it's my fault, I said softly. I entertained feelings I shouldn't have. I knelt down and gathered the photos scattered on the floor. You have my word. I thought it through and won't repeat such shameless behavior. I'll move out today. I took a deep breath, holding back tears, and bowed deeply. Thank you for all the kindness you've shown me over the years. I will never forget it. With that, I turned to head upstairs, but as I did, I caught sight of Mason standing a short distance away. I hadn't noticed when he returned. His suit jacket was draped over his arm. It was unclear how much of the conversation he had overheard. I was too flustered to care and gave him a hasty nod before trying to leave. What's going on? Mason's voice stopped me. It's nothing. I'm just going upstairs, I replied, my voice trembling. Then why are you crying? Only then did I realize tears were streaming down my face. Mason reached for the photos in my hands. I tried to snatch them back but froze under his sharp gaze. Like Liam, Mason was someone I feared. Even though it was his idea years ago to have Liam's parents adopt me, granting me a safe and stable life, his presence was always intimidating. Because of these photos, he asked, glancing at Liam's parents. This isn't Elena's fault. What? Liam's mom looked puzzled. Mason handed the photos back to me. I took these photos of Elena, he said calmly. But Liam said. Mason cut her off with a faint smile. Liam and Elena had a fight recently. That kid held a grudge and decided to pull this stunt to mess with her. Liam's mom let out a breath of relief but still looked skeptical. Then why would you take such photos of Elena? She's still a child, Liam's father added with a frown. I stood frozen, overwhelmed and confused by Mason's unexpected intervention. Mason walked over to me, his hand resting lightly on my head. She's 21 now, hardly a child anymore, he said, and dating isn't a crime, is it? The situation ended in a bewildering way. I inexplicably became Mason's girlfriend. Liam's mom apologized to me and scolded Liam harshly. He's getting more and more out of hand these days. Exactly. He used to bully Elena, but now he's gone so far as to pull a prank like this. Elena's reputation matters, especially since she's a girl. I won't let him off this time. Liam does need some discipline, Mason said. Why don't we have him work under me at the company for some training? Liam's mom immediately agreed, beaming. That's a great idea. I'd feel completely at ease with you in charge. Don't hold back, she added. Don't worry, Mason replied. Then he turned to me. I'll take Elena out for dinner. We won't be back tonight. In the car, Mason finally let go of my hand. He gave the driver an address, then turned to me. Elena, I remember you were 9 when you first came here. Yes, I replied, startled by his sudden reminiscence. When did you start dating Liam? About a year ago, I stammered, but we've broken up. Do you still like him? I hesitated, feeling a dull ache in my chest, but I shook my head. No, I don't. Mason nodded slightly. Are you sure? Yes, I said firmly. Good. Tomorrow, you'll move out, he said. I'll have someone pick you up once your things are packed. Pick me up where? My place, Mason replied matter-of-factly. But you're my girlfriend now, aren't I? But that's just a pretense to help me out. Don't want to? Mason raised a brow. No, it's just, you're Mason. You're my elder. Elena, he interrupted, I'm Liam's uncle, but we're not related by blood, and I'm only 8 years older than you. He leaned closer, his gaze steady. Besides, if I recall correctly, you were the one who came to me first. I flushed at the memory of that night, unable to argue. Seeing my silence, Mason softened his tone. Living with me will keep Liam from bothering you. Think it over. I moved into Mason's house. The house was much closer to my school. Mason was usually busy, so I still stayed in the dorm most of the time. Only on weekends would he come to pick me up. A few days ago, Mason arranged for Liam to intern at the company. He was sent directly abroad. Liam feared Mason and didn't dare slack off on work matters. As a result, he was constantly busy and had no time to pester me anymore. A month later, when Liam returned from his overseas trip and came to look for me at school, I had just stepped out of Mason's car. I waited at Liam, ready to leave, but Mason stopped me. Elena. Yes? Do you need something? I took 2 steps back toward the car. Mason reached out and grabbed my wrist, pulling me into his arms with a slight tug. Mason. I panicked, worried that a passing classmate might see us. I'll pick you up tonight. He let go of my wrist, and I quickly stood straight. But just then, someone roughly grabbed my arm. Elena. Liam's eyes were practically blazing with anger. What are you doing? Are you flirting with my uncle now? Mason got out of the car, gripped Liam's wrist, and said coldly, let go. If everything goes as planned, 2 years from now, when Elena graduates, you'll need to start calling her aunt. Mason's gaze was firm as he looked at Liam. So, starting this moment, you'd better show her some respect. Liam was utterly stunned, and even I looked at Mason in shock. Elena, go back to the dorm. No, she can't leave. Liam was on the verge of breaking down. He held on to me tightly. Mason, she's my girlfriend. This isn't funny. No one is joking with you. Mason's cold gaze landed on Liam's hand. Take your hand off her. I don't believe it. I just don't believe it. Liam shook his head repeatedly, looking at me. I know you're doing this on purpose to provoke me, aren't you? Seeing Liam refuse to let go, Mason didn't waste any more words. He called his assistant. Get him out of here. Liam struggled, but Mason's stern look made him stop. Try causing trouble again and see what happens. Liam was unwilling, but he didn't dare make another scene. After Liam was escorted into the car, Mason walked over to me. Don't overthink it. I'll handle this. Got it? I'll pick you up tonight. Go on. Mason waited until I entered the dorm building before getting back in his car and leaving. As soon as I walked into the dorm, Bella turned and left with a cold face. She had dated Liam for half a month before he dumped her. It wasn't until after their breakup that Bella realized she'd been used. Liam had only dated her to provoke me. After learning the truth, Bella harbored some resentment toward me. I wanted to make amends because Bella had been one of my first good friends in college. We used to get along really well. If it weren't for Liam, we wouldn't have had a falling out. Elena, do you think you two can make up? To be honest, Liam was such a jerk. No wonder Bella's upset. I felt the same way. A girl like Bella couldn't possibly withstand Liam's charm. I'll go talk to her. Yeah, you two should have a proper conversation. After all, you're in the same dorm. Bella and I talked for a long time. Though she still had some lingering grievances, she was willing to mend our friendship. That evening, Mason came to pick me up as promised. He had probably been out socializing and smelled of alcohol. As soon as I got into the car, before I could greet him, he pulled me close. Startled, I tried to push him away, but his grip tightened. Elena. Mason, you're drunk. I am, but I'm very clear-headed. His slightly tipsy eyes gazed at me, gradually softening. Can I? I didn't reply, but I also didn't shake my head. Over time, I'd started to see him in a different light. What once felt uncomfortable had turned into a desire to spend more time with him. Mason pulled me into his arms and lowered his head to kiss me. His lips carried the strong scent of alcohol, and I, not used to drinking, found it overpowering. I shook my head, trying to push him away. Mason opened his eyes, looked at me, and stopped. Instead, he buried his face in my neck, looking tired. Elena, his voice was husky as he tugged at his tie. My head hurts for some reason. The fear and distance I usually felt toward him seemed to melt away in his rare moment of vulnerability. Do you want to see a doctor? No hospital, he said, shaking his head and hugging me tighter. The smell of hospitals makes it worse. Then what should we do? I saw you massaging Grandpa before, he said, looking at me. Do the same for me. The driver couldn't help but chuckle but quickly fell silent. I muttered under my breath, are you really drunk, or just pretending? This behavior was so unlike Mason. Summoning my courage, I gently placed my hands on his temples. Let me know if it feels uncomfortable. After a while, when he didn't respond, I asked softly, is this pressure okay? Moments later, Mason suddenly grabbed my wrist. Stop talking. It's noisy. I held my breath and increased the pressure slightly. In the dim car, a faint smile seemed to form at the corner of Mason's lips. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would have thought it was my imagination. From that day on, my relationship with Mason seemed to grow closer. When we lived at the old family house, I had been terrified of him. The moment I saw him from afar, I would avoid him like a mouse avoiding a cat. But now, under the same roof, I occasionally dared to talk back. Mason was extremely busy, but every Friday night, without fail, he would come to pick me up. Even though we lived in the same house, we slept in separate rooms. Mason was reserved and disciplined, a true gentleman. Except for a good night kiss on weekend nights, he rarely showed any physical affection. Living with him, I gradually felt at ease. For the first time in years, I experienced a sense of belonging, as though I truly had a home. Every elder in the old house had treated me kindly, but as a child living under someone else's roof, I had always been sensitive and mature beyond my years. Though I lacked nothing materially, I'd never felt a sense of home. Not even during the months when Liam treated me well. Yet with Mason, I finally found that feeling. I couldn't pinpoint when it started, but I began looking forward to Fridays, looking forward to seeing his car downstairs, looking forward to opening the car door and seeing him, looking forward to curling up with him on the couch to watch a random movie, looking forward to those goodnight kisses on weekend nights. I loved hearing him call me Elena. It felt intimate, like a warmth that softened my heart. It made me feel like a little girl again, someone who could be willful without the fear of being disliked or sent away. On the eve of summer vacation, Mason had a 2-week business trip to France. Initially, he planned to take me with him, but I had an important exam coming up, so I couldn't go with him. The day I finished my exam, Bella suggested a night out at a bar with our dorm mates to unwind. After taking a shower back at the dorm, I was drying my hair when I made a video call to Mason. It took him a while to pick up. In the video, Mason was wearing a navy blue shirt, sitting in what appeared to be an office. By my calculations, he still had 3 days before coming back. Yet, from the second day of his trip, I already started missing him. Heading out, he asked. Yes, I'm going to a bar with my dorm mates later. We might have a few drinks. I'll arrange a car to take you there and pick you up afterward. No need for that. It's just my dorm mates and classmates. How did the exam go? Not bad. Looking at Mason on the screen, I couldn't help but reach out and lightly touch his face. Mason, you're coming back the day after tomorrow, right? Yes. Should I pick you up? Mason chuckled. You'll drive? I glared at him, puffing out my cheeks. I've had my license since I became an adult. Alright then, come pick me up. I'll go dry my hair now. Elena, what is it? Mason in the video gazed at me, his expression relaxed, carrying a trace of gentleness. Call me when you get back tonight. Got it. I got you a gift. On the screen, I smiled, my eyes curving into crescents. Thank you. You're the best. Go now, dry your hair, or you'll catch a cold. Roger that. As I headed out, a sense of elation filled me. The night was electric, and I ended up drinking a bit too much. Since most of us were girls, the drinks were mainly beer, fruit wines, and low-alcohol cocktails, but the mix of drinks made me dizzy quickly. At that moment, Bella approached with a glass of wine. Elena, she said, handing it to me. Have a drink. I smiled at her foolishly through my haze. Does that mean if I drink this, everything's fine between us? Bella laughed. Yes, drink this, and it's all good. Not one to overthink, I downed the glass in one go, and Bella did the same. Let's step outside and talk, she suggested. The private room was noisy, filled with chaotic chatter and laughter, making conversation impossible. I followed Bella out. This room is empty. Let's sit here. Bella led me to the end of the hallway and opened the door to a private room, but I didn't step in. Bella, I called out. She turned to me, the smile on her face fading entirely. If I'm not mistaken, someone's in that room, aren't they? My pounding headache made me steady myself against the wall. Orphaned young and raised under someone else's roof, I, Elena, grew up cautiously, far from a naive girl without defenses. Elena, don't blame me, Bella said, grasping my arm. Liam told me to bring you here. If I didn't, he threatened to post my photos online. Bella's pale face twisted into a bitter smile. I truly like him, but he's never felt the same about me. I'm not doing this for him, I'm doing it for myself. Elena, I'm not like you. I can't afford to lose face. My family can't afford it. With that, she yanked me into the room. As I struggled, Liam's hands firmly gripped me. Bella released me, her expression vacant. Bella, I called her name weakly, but she had already closed her eyes and shut the door. Darkness consumed my vision. Liam's body pressed against mine, the strong smell of alcohol enveloping me. Elena, he murmured, I should have taken you long ago. I shouldn't have held back just because you were younger. I fought back with all my strength, but Liam was far stronger. My body, burning with heat from the alcohol and drugs, refused to obey me. He spun me around to face him and forced a harsh kiss on me. As I tried to push him away, a maddening desire clawed at me from within. Mason has a cleanliness obsession, Liam sneered. Once I have you, he'll never want you again. For the rest of your life, you'll be mine, even if it kills you. Cold air rushed over me as he tore my dress apart. The shock cleared my head for a brief moment. When Liam leaned in to kiss me again, I summoned all my strength and bit him hard. But what I thought was all my strength barely fazed him. He grunted in pain but quickly retaliated, his hand closing around my throat.
How long have you been sneaking around with Mason under my nose?
For years, women have thrown themselves at him, and he's ignored them all.
Why you? He knew you were dating me. Liam's handsome face contorted with rage.
I clutched his hand, gasping for air, on the brink of passing out. Then, just as my vision dimmed, Liam suddenly let go.
He flung me onto the couch and lunged at me again.
At that moment, the door burst open with a loud crash.
The weight pressing on me disappeared.
A thud, followed by Liam's pained scream, echoed in the room. Through the blur, I saw Mason's furious face.
He draped his jacket over my exposed body, shielding me.
"Elena," he called softly, scooping me into his arms.
Wrapped in his scent and warmth, I knew I was safe.
Tears streamed down my face as I buried myself in his chest.
"What are you doing here?" I choked. "Weren't you supposed to be in France?"
"You weren't due back for 3 more days. I wrapped up work early and came back ahead of schedule," Mason said, holding me tighter.
"It's over. You're safe now." He pressed a gentle kiss on my brow.
In the car, I started acting up. Whatever Bella had put in that drink left me unbearably hot, as if ants were crawling all over my skin.
By the time we neared the hospital, I'd nearly stripped Mason of his clothes.
My high temperature made him feel cool to the touch, and I clung to him like a lifeline. "Elena," Mason said, exasperated, as he tried to hold me back. But I climbed onto his lap, wrapping myself around him. "Mason," I kissed his face and kissed him. My throat burning with an insatiable thirst. "Water," I pleaded. "I'll get it for you," he tried to move.
"No need, you have it." I clung tighter to his neck.
Mason wrapped me in his coat and carried me back to the room. "Go take a shower first," he carried me to the bathroom.
The water temperature was intentionally set a little lower than usual.
At first, I felt somewhat comfortable and stopped pestering him, humming softly instead. But just 5 minutes after I got out of the shower, my body started to heat up again. Mason's shirt and pants had gotten a little wet from the water. The thin fabric clung to his chest muscles and abs, and the definition of his muscles was so tantalizing I couldn't help but stare. I couldn't resist reaching out to touch him again. This time, he didn't push me away. Instead, he picked me up and sat me on the sink, grabbing my chin and kissing me deeply.
When I was feeling dizzy from the kiss, he whispered in my ear, "Elena, are you still uncomfortable? Do you want to feel better?" I nodded anxiously. Mason lifted me up. "Hold on tight."
But there's no such thing as a free lunch. If you want comfort, there's always some suffering at the start. I almost kicked Mason off the bed, but I still felt wronged.
"You're a liar. You're bullying me."
Mason restrained my thrashing legs. He grabbed both my wrists with one hand and pinned them above my head. He leaned down, and that smile of his was almost devilish.
"Yes, I'm bullying you."
His smile made me feel dizzy. Before I knew it, he had his way with me for the whole night.
Liam stayed in the hospital for 2 weeks.
That night, he had the misfortune of being kicked to the ground by his uncle, breaking 2 ribs. As soon as his injuries healed, he was sent abroad.
As for Bella, Mason asked for my opinion. I hesitated for a long time.
If I pursued this matter, what Bella did to me by drugging my drink was no small thing. It was a criminal offense. She would never graduate, and there would be a permanent stain on her record. But I'm not a saint, so in the end, I decided to call the police and let them handle it. The police's findings were never made public, but not long after, Bella was expelled from school and forced to withdraw. I was at school the day her parents came to pick her up.
She cried uncontrollably as she left the dorm with her family.
I felt a little upset inside, but no matter what, if you make a mistake, you have to pay the price. When Mason called me, he could tell I wasn't in a good mood.
He drove over to pick me up that evening. That night, he didn't take me out for a fancy dinner. He cooked dinner himself, steak and pasta. We had a little red wine with it. Later, while cooling off on the terrace, I asked him, "Did you like me all along?" Mason shook his wine glass. "I'm not that perverted." I couldn't help but laugh. "I didn't mean years ago." Mason lowered his head and took a sip of his wine.
"I mean, before you secretly started dating Liam."
"Then why didn't you tell me?"
Mason put his glass down and extended his hand to me. I took his hand and snuggled into his arms.
"If I hadn't broken up with Liam, would you have kept quiet about it forever?" "No." Mason stroked my hair.
"I wavered when I realized you weren't happy with him."
"When did you realize?"
"One night, I came back late, and you were crying alone in the garden. I heard you calling Liam over and over again, but no one picked up. Eventually, you were blocked. I thought you'd be crying even harder, but you weren't."
Mason paused here.
He pulled me in closer, and his voice dropped. "You didn't cry, but instead, you muttered to yourself."
"What did I say?" Mason kissed me lightly. "You said, 'It's no big deal, Elena. It's not like this is the first time I've been abandoned. There's no reason to cry.'"
Tears silently streamed down my face.
I was just telling the truth.
After my mom and dad divorced, it was just my dad who raised me. When I was little, I hated my mom for leaving me, but later, when I heard she passed away from illness, I was still heartbroken.
Then my dad left me too.
From childhood to now, I've had to face farewell after farewell.
So later on, as I grew up, breakups didn't hurt as much for me. It felt like I had already gotten used to it. Living alone, just me. It won't be like that anymore. Mason gently patted my back. "Elena, I'll be with you from now on. Why do you like me?"
Mason looked down at my tear-streaked face. "At first, it was pity. You were just a little girl who became an orphan, and that was really sad. Then, as I watched you grow up, clearly walking on thin ice but pretending everything was fine, it made me feel heartbroken."
"But pity and heartache aren't the same as romantic love." Mason smiled lightly. "Later, when I found out you and Liam were secretly dating, I couldn't sleep for half a month. I knew something was off." "Then why did you act like that?"
"You clearly liked me."
"That night when I hugged you while you were drunk, why were you still so mad?" "I thought you were just using me to make Liam jealous." "I'm not that bored." I poked his chin. "I don't like him anymore." "What about me?" I felt a little dazed, staring at Mason.
Yet, in my mind, I saw that young man from more than a decade ago, slim and handsome, standing tall like a poplar, his presence outstanding. The living room was full of people. I still wore the white flower on my chest.
Dad's funeral had just ended.
They were discussing what to do with me, the orphan. My dad had died on duty, and Liam's grandfather, a kind man, had helped with the funeral arrangements.
The old man even opened a bank account for me and deposited the compensation money there.
At the time, distant relatives surfaced, eager to adopt me.
It would have been the easiest arrangement for their family. Liam's parents were all for it.
I was only 9 at the time, but I had a vague understanding that I would probably have to go with these relatives I had never met to another province. I had never seen these relatives before, but now they came out of nowhere, pretending to be kind.
Even as a child, I could sense their insincerity.
It must have been because of the $2 million in compensation.
But as a 9-year-old, I had no choice.
I was like a drifting reed, just going with the flow, being controlled by others.
But then, Mason suddenly spoke up.
"Let her stay here.
What's the problem with one more person at the table?
We can afford to feed her. After all, her father died serving us. Our family taking care of her would look good on us." After saying that, he walked over to me and took my hand.
"Elena, do you want to stay?"
At that moment, I was as frightened as a bird shot with an arrow. But when Mason held my hand, it felt like a drifting boat had finally found a shore. In my subconscious, I always felt that this uncle, who had no blood relation to me, was somehow far more reassuring than the so-called cousins and their spouses. I nodded through my tears, gripping his hand and refusing to let go.
Mason wiped my tears away.
Then stay here. He was highly favored in the family. The old man, who adored his youngest son, who was so like him, both wise and steady, rarely asked for much. But since he had spoken up this time, the old man, of course, wouldn't refuse him and immediately agreed. From that moment on, I stayed with their family. A driver's daughter, yet I was raised in comfort like a young lady. My fate was rewritten because of Mason. Round and round, the man I once timidly called Mason had become my boyfriend and gave me a home.
My eyes grew wet. And warm. Mason, thank you. Elena, you know what I want to hear.
I held him tightly, not letting him see how disheveled I looked from crying. He would never know that when I was young, I often dreamed, and in those dreams, the people who appeared would always take the form of Mason. As I grew older, my courage became smaller. I thought I could never touch someone like him, and so I stopped daring to dream of him. I deliberately erased him from my mind. The young girl's budding feelings were severed before they could even fully grow. But luckily, fate had its way, and now we had reconnected. Carry me to the bedroom, and I'll tell you everything.
All right. Mason picked me up. I rested on his shoulder, feeling the rhythm of his heartbeat.
It turned out that every love story had its trace to follow. When Mason, at 17, had taken the hand of 9-year-old Elena, now at 21, Elena was more than willing to offer him her whole life.